What's going on YouTube? This is Hero Stormwolf and welcome back to another Skyrim mods video. This time we're taking a look at the more magical side of things with Pj Spell Compendium. What this is, it adds 18 plus unique scripted spells into Skyrim. In order to access these spells, you need to go to the Cellar of the Frozen Hearth and Winterhold and talk to Phineas Jamison.
You want something from me?
He'll sell spells such as the Acid Rain, Assassin's Rush, Backfire, Bladestorm, and Clones. I'll be showing off each one of these. First up is Acid Rain, and what this does is creates a storm of acid rain dealing continuous damage to health and damage resistance. The higher your destruction level, the more rain will come down. This cannot be cast indoors. Next up is the Assassin's Rush, and for this you need to have a dagger equipped in your right hand.
Yes?
Basically what it does is whenever you use it, it puts you behind any target, so it's good for sneak attacks and things like that, or if you just need to quickly get behind the target. Next up is Backfire, which causes enemies who use magic to have their spells backfire on them. The higher your alteration skills, the more effective and the higher the chance of Backfire actually working. See, that's what happens when Backfire happens. Basically exploded in his face as he was using the spell. Next up is the Bladestorm, which causes a storm of blades to surround around you, and whenever enemies are close, it will cut them apart. Not literally, but you know what I mean. Now this can also hurt you, but I have God mode on, so just be aware of that. Next up is the Clone spell, and this is sort of the more interesting one of the group. It comes in 3 forms. Clone 1 creates a single clone that attacks at 90% strength. Clone 2 attacks at 80% of strength, but it creates 2 clones. And Clone 3 creates 3 small clones that attack at 75%. I'll show off Clone 1, then Clone 2, then Clone 3.
You picked a bad time to get lost.
As you can see, there's the clone.
Can't wait to count out your fun.
This is Clone 2. And then this is Clone 3. Oh, well he died, but you get the gist of how clones work. Next up is the Darkness spell, and this creates basically a black void around you, confusing and disorienting all enemies.
What was that?
This also works on allies too, so be careful when you use this.
What was that?
Fundamentally, he's blind, so he cannot see where I'm at or what I'm doing. This is good for if you want to escape, but be warned, like I said, it does work on allies and animals, so just be aware of that when you use the spell. Next up is Clone, which creates a clone of yourself, and when the clone spell expires, it explodes. Did I say clone? I meant to say decoy. As you can see, this is my decoy. It will not spawn in whatever armor you're wearing just because it's hard to do the scripting for that, as I'm reading the author notes here. So your clone will always come in regular armor. And that's what happens when the spell expires. It doesn't last long, but it can be useful. Next up is Earthquake, and what this does, it causes an earthquake around the caster to make enemies lose their balance. The higher your conjuration skills, the increased chance of the staggering complete knockdown that you have. The next spell is Fire Spouts, and what this does is create spouts of fire underneath your enemy's feet. The higher your destruction level, the more spouts you create. It's by random, so it is the chance that it will not hit the enemy. Next up is Hurricane. This creates a hurricane around the caster, pushing enemies backwards constantly. The stronger your conjuration levels, the more powerful it does. Or the more powerful it is, excuse me. Of course, this cannot be used indoors.
There once was a waiter named Red, another Red.
Still kind of buggy, but you get the gist of the idea. Next is the Jump spell, which comes in 3 variations. Jump 1, Jump 2, and Jump 3. Jump 1 puts you 10 feet in the air. Jump 2, 30. Jump 3, 100. Jump 1's in my left hand. Jump 2 is my right hand. And then jump 3 is going to be in my left hand again. Now, be careful when you use these because you can kill yourself. Only reason I'm not dead is because I have God mode enabled right now. Next up is Lightning Columns. This creates roaming lightning columns that cause damage in all enemies in the path. This is not worded correctly. The higher the destruction levels, the more columns it creates. Not castable indoors.
Never should have come here. Get lost, friend.
Oops, thought I had God mode on for a second. I apologize for this. Next up is the Magic Missiles. What this does is creates magic missiles that seek out enemies and hit with random effects. 2 missiles are summoned at the start, but for every 20 levels you gain in Conjuration, another missile is summoned when you use the spell.
Now ain't this strong?
Next up is Sleet, and what this does is creates an ice storm of sleet, freezing enemies it hits for a short time. The higher your destruction levels, the more sleet you'll bring down. It may not last long, but it's very effective when it hits. Next up is Swat, and this one, or Swap, excuse me, and this is pretty self-explanatory. Swats with every target you hit with it. Swap places. pretty simple. Next up is Telekinesis, and it lets me use Telekinesis on my enemies. There you are. Spell's still buggy, but the general idea is I can lift any enemy I want. Doesn't work on dead enemies. Next up is Tornado, which creates a tornado sweeping the target into the sky. Target is immune to further damage while in the tornado. So basically, if once you hit them with it, you can't do any more damage until after they're out their tornado. Now while he's in this, he's completely invulnerable and I can't do anything to him. Though this is pretty funny to watch. And the last spell that's in this pack is the web spell. What this does is creates a web on the target's location, immobilizing all nearby targets for a short time. Useful for targets who are mainly melee characters, since it slows them down and gives you time to make room. Alright, that has been Pj Spell Compendium. I hope you enjoyed it. Couple interesting spells in there. Before I forget though, be careful when you use the clone spell. This may crash your game. It's happened to me once, so be aware of that if you plan on using the clone spell a lot. Anyways, this is Hero Stormwolf, and if you found this video helpful and entertaining, please leave a like or a comment and share the video with your friends. Catch you guys next time. Peace.